Patrick Beverley and JJ Redick have gotten into a bit of a beef, and I weirdly have a lot to say about it. Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference in how it performs in the YouTube algorithm. So, in the last not podcast clip video that was released on this channel, I talked about how excited I was to be back after a week off and to record more content, and then I immediately got COVID. Bad timing there. I still have it, and you can still hear it a little bit, but for the most part my voice is recovered and my throat is recovered and I can at least talk. For the first couple of days it was really bad and I could not talk for more than a few minutes without just being in big time pain. Not to mention not being really able to sit up. So I'm on the road to recovery, but I figured I'm strong enough now that I can actually record. Good thing it was All-Star Weekend, so there wasn't too much to cover other than just shitting on All-Star Weekend, which is a habit that I have grown tired of. It's something that I do every time because I am a perpetual hater of All-Star Weekend, but I have grown tired of shitting on it all the time. I'm still going to at the end of this video because I do want to talk about All-Star Weekend a little bit. Kind of the way that I feel about it is the sentiment I'll arrive to at the end, which is just that I just don't really think that All-Star Weekend is something that's going to ever be good again. I do want to talk about this JJ versus Beverley thing. So what happened is JJ went on ESPN and talked about Doc Rivers and some of the excuses he's been making in recent interviews.
Side note real quick, no one's going to react to Doc's audio there. I've seen the trend now. I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard, but it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. And then you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy. Well, there's never accountability.
And excuses is the right way to put it. And he talked about, Doc Rivers has been on a crazy run of interviews lately of just saying the most outlandish shit and like not professional and not what you want from your head coach. Talking about how surprisingly hard the Bucks job is. Talking about that he was surprised that the Bucks did what they did when he got the phone call from them being like, why are you doing this? Still taking the job after that is wild. Not to mention he said that he told Kawhi when he was trying to join the Clippers that they shouldn't trade for Paul George, that SGA was gonna be like that dude in a couple of years. And I saw a clip the other day that was just him making excuse after excuse after excuse for some playoff series that he had lost in the past. JJ said that Doc had no accountability and that there was a track record of no accountability. JJ obviously played under Doc Rivers on the Los Angeles Clippers, and Patrick Beverley, who, if you did not know, recently became coached by Doc Rivers because he just got traded to the Bucks, said that it was unfair of JJ to do this, to throw him under the bus like that on TV, specifically saying that Doc Rivers saved his career by signing him onto the Clippers. Here's my immediate problem with that is it's not acknowledging how fucking good of a player JJ Redick genuinely was. And this is something I think about pretty regularly just because I watch JJ Redick's podcast. It's one of the few basketball podcasts I watch because I don't enjoy basketball podcasts. For the most part, there are a couple of examples, and I don't even watch everything that JJ does, but just like probably like 60-70% of it. JJ Redick was one of the best shooters in NBA history. Point blank, one of the best. He had a season where he shot like 48% from 3 on 6 attempts. When he was on the Sixers, this is another point I want to bring because a lot of people were discussing this, like, again, suggesting Doc Rivers saved JJ's career, saying that JJ had his best seasons with the Clippers. He had his best seasons with the Sixers. He did have that 47% from 3 season, but like in terms of his highest volume scoring, in terms of his best playmaking ability seasons, he had a really good two-man game with Joel Embiid. And what's the name of the guy? I can't. Brett Brown. Brett Brown was his head coach during all that. Not Doc Rivers. JJ Redick also pointed out, and this isn't a lie, at least if it was a lie that he set up a while ago, that his contract, he was offered another contract from another team. It was just not a contending team, so he wanted to play for a contending team. That's why he went with the Clippers. But I remember him saying that on a podcast like months, if not a year ago, before this whole beef. So it's not like he just made that up for this. Nor does it make any sense that he would have made that up, because he was a good player in free agency and had a legendary college career. He was good in Orlando. And even though the league was not at a point where it valued three-point shooting to the degree that it does now, he was still so fucking good as a shooter that he was recognized as a positive player and someone that you want to have on your team, which is why the Clippers signed him to be a starter. Which I find odd that Patrick Beverley, of all people, is talking about having your career saved when he was the guy who had to go and play overseas. He was the guy who was far more on the fringes of being in the league than JJ Redick was. I really don't understand it. It's a weird thing for Beverley to be saying. I don't really understand what Beverley's point is there. It seems counterintuitive. He also, this is a weird one, went on his podcast later and talked about the Rockets. It's funny that we're doing this now, that we're just, commentary is just back and forth between different players' podcasts, but whatever, man. I think it's entertaining. Patrick Beverley went on his podcast and was like, you lost that, the Rockets series that they blew a 3-1 lead. That was because, James Harden kept torching JJ Redick. JJ's not a defensive player, and I don't know that he was on James Harden for that entire series, but if he was, that's at that point a coaching decision that was a mistake. So that's one. The other thing is, I'd rather have Chris Paul on James Harden at that point. Even if there's a height disadvantage, it's not by enough that it makes up for the defensive talent disadvantage that JJ has. But then he goes, maybe Jamal Crawford should have started in that series. Jamal Crawford's a defensive player in any capacity. So that was weird. I don't understand what he's even fucking talking about. Not to mention, dude, look at Jamal Crawford's playoff stats. He's one of the worst playoff performers of all time. Of all time, one of the worst. But all that said, JJ Redick was a very good player, a much better player than Patrick Beverley. So if Beverley wants to make this personal about or make it about how talented they are as basketball players, he's losing that conversation. Both of them were very good role players. JJ Redick was a lot closer to being better than just a role player than Patrick Beverley ever was. And I truly think that if JJ Redick was in the modern NBA, he would be launching 8 threes a game from the moment his career started. JJ might not be a top 10 three-point shooter of all time. He might be numbered 9 or 10. But at the very least, he's top 25. Bare minimum in that ballpark. So one of the best shooters in NBA history. Got up to 16 to 18 points per game for a couple of years. Really solid playmaker. And then defensively, he definitely was not great. But he wasn't as bad as he definitely could have been for someone his size and not really being that great of a defender, talent-wise. So, yeah, this is all silly to me. JJ was not saved by Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers does make fucking excuses. He makes so many excuses. He has a huge track record of it. And he's a bad coach at this point. I'm willing to just say that he's not even okay anymore. He's just not that good. So Patrick Beverley is wrong, is what I'm getting at. Anyways, let's talk about All-Star Weekend. I'm not really going to talk about the specifics too much. I watched it while dying on my couch, so I didn't even really grasp every detail of it. The Sabrina versus Steph thing was awesome. It was the only thing that was really memorable about the entire weekend to me. The other thing that was memorable, unfortunately, was Kenny Smith's bitch ass saying so much stupid shit. Can't fucking stand bad commentary like that. Not to mention the misogynistic elements of it. Sabrina literally hit the same amount of points as all the other players who played in the three-point competition. What a joke that whole sequence was. Fuck Kenny Smith. That was terrible. Also, fuck him in the dunk contest. Oh my God, I say this every year. I've said it every single All-Star weekend. I've been doing content on this channel for 3-4 years. Every single year, All-Star weekend comes around, the dunk contest comes around, and I have to say, Kenny, stop fucking saying it's over. It's not. It's not over. Shut up. The only thing that's over is you ever making an iconic call again. Shut the fuck up. Please, shut the fuck up. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy every time. Shut up, Kenny. Please, please. The NBA really needs to take a hard look at who is representing their product, because the enthusiasm of the commentary, the information that's being delivered, it's really pivotal towards selling this product to the casual fan. You have a guy who doesn't have any enthusiasm to be there because he was like shitting on the whole thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm shitting on the whole thing. Okay, that's not ideal, but I'm not in front of millions of people on the broadcast right now. This video will get 40,000 views, maybe. They gotta reevaluate this. They gotta get some people in there who have passion for the game, that aren't just a bunch of old, bitter players, and that aren't misogynistic. That would be great. So that stuff aside, the game was boring. You know, no one tried. The thing that's really funny about this is apparently the NBA Players Association had a bunch of its different like members and presidents. I think Andre Iguodala, Julius Erving. There is another one whose name I'm blanking on right now. They went into the locker room and were like, hey guys, be really good for the NBA if you were like competitive and cared and tried. And then they didn't do that. There's been a lot of discussion about like incentives or whatever. I don't know. This season is slowly turning me into a boomer. I'm really starting to get a little bit more of the old head perspective on the game, because I'm like, at a certain point, is it too much to ask that you have competitive spirit, that you like have a desire to play good basketball amongst the best basketball players in the world? Like, if you look at that Western Conference All-Star team, holy fuck, what a talented roster that was. Did you actually look at the photo of that roster and just realize, god damn, that's one of the most talented all-star rosters I've ever seen. They got beat by the Eastern All-Stars, who are just the most whatever roster I've ever seen, just because they didn't fucking care. No one cared even a little bit. And I just don't know. I don't think they deserve to get paid to care. Just fucking care a little bit. The thing that everyone was talking about is like they're too afraid of social media, like getting roasted on social media. I mean, grow up. I don't know if I buy that. If that's true, then everything that old NBA players say about this league being soft is actually true. I forgive that take entirely. If it's truly that they're so afraid of getting crossed over on social media that they're just not gonna try, because that's embarrassing. That's more embarrassing than trying and getting embarrassed, as far as I'm concerned. If that's actually true, I'd be more mortified by that. I do eventually want to make a main channel video on social media and its effect on the NBA. If that's it, it's embarrassing. I don't know what it is, but I truly don't think I'm ever going to tune into the All-Star game again and ever have more than just like, oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I'm going to get more than that ever. One take that I will put out there: saw a lot of people being super doomer about the state of basketball in general because of the All-Star game. And I just want to say, the All-Star game is a very small part of all this. You know, does it illustrate a difference in competitive edge that maybe didn't exist before, that can be representative in the All-Star game in the past, and like it's a good litmus test for the state of the league? Maybe to a degree, but I don't think it's like they don't try in the All-Star game, therefore the league is fucked. And that's the way a lot of people were talking. So I do want to dial that talk back. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Feels good to be back. I was expecting to be fairly exhausted by the end of this, but it was actually pretty easy. So hopefully that means I can continue this daily streak going forward from here. But yeah, that is it. Shout out to Nick for editing this video, and goodbye.